Hello, my friends. As we explore Metahuman and awakening to Metahuman beyond the conditioned mind, the recycled karmic mind, and as we explore You Are the Universe and awakening, let me share today a very interesting experience. So, a few days I was walking on the streets of New York, and I thought I felt cigarette smoke, and I asked myself, who's smoking cigarettes right now in the COVID pandemic? And by the way, I was also wearing a mask. This was a while ago. And as I smelled that smoke, I started to look around. And finally, I found a young man smoking about maybe 20 feet away from me. And of course, I realized instantly that the particles that were in his lungs were now entering my lungs. The particles that were carried in the smoke. So little pieces of matter, particles, are in our conventional way of thinking, little pieces of matter, particles, in his lungs were entering my lungs. And of course, those particles are the end product of metabolism in that person's body. So I was literally inhaling his body at a microscopic level. And then I realized, of course, that I was inhaling the body at a microscopic level of all the people on that street and that block and everywhere else. Now, to give you another analogy, which is not so pleasant, but let's face the facts. If somebody has an explosion of intestinal gas, colloquially in English known as a fart, F-A-R-T, the explosion of intestinal gas, then that gas, that quote unquote fart, is carrying fecal matter, colloquially again known as shit. So obviously, if somebody has this explosion of intestinal gas around you, you're inhaling their body, of course, but you're inhaling it through their fecal matter, all the shit, which is the end product of not only their metabolism, but all the toxins that are coming out. Okay, so as I walked around, I realized I was probably inhaling that too. In short, what I call my body is part of the matrix of all bodies. Okay, so now where do we go from here? The food that you eat is recycled earth. And right now, since manufactured, refined, processed food coming from factories and from animals raised in factories are also getting all kinds of chemicals, including antibiotics, steroids, other hormones, which are and chemicals which disrupt hormones which regulate our body-mind, self-regulate our body-mind. The food chain, as it is now poisoned, is also part of our collective bodies, because we are food. This physical body, at least on a physical level, is food. So at the level of the body, we are all actually a matrix of what we might call physical stuff, particles. Of course, those are also waves of probability. Okay. So I was thinking about this, and then I also realized, therefore, the food chain as it is now predominantly is collectively poisoning us. And so when you inhale somebody's smoke or somebody's intestinal gas or just somebody's breath, all of that is going through you. What about the water? You can analyze the water of any city, and it contains drugs. It contains all kinds of narcotics, pharmaceuticals. So, of course, every time you drink water, your circulation is also entangled with the circulation of everybody around you. So earth, water. What about air? Well, as you just saw, you can't cut up the air. You can cut up, so-called parts of the Middle East into Israel and Palestine. You can cut up the earth, so-called between Pakistan and India and Kashmir or whatever you decide. It's all totally artificial. There's no boundary between Canada and the US, and the US in Canada as well. It's a concept. Okay, it's a concept. So since we can't cut up the air, especially now with we can pretend to cut up the rivers, we can pretend to cut up the earth, and give it all kinds of markers, latitude, longitude, nation states, borders. And we can even cut up the water. People have all kinds of conflicts about water rights, in different countries. They even use water as a weapon, cut off the water to that place and cut off the water to that place. So in any case, our circulation is entangled with everybody else's circulation, which means it's inseparable. It's part of the matrix of circulation. Okay, now, so what is left? Earth, water, air, space, of course, you can't cut up. And metabolic activity, which we, theoretically is the fire of enzymes and all the catalysts in our body. Our metabolic activities are also inseparable, because metabolism is ultimately a moment by moment fluctuation of experience at the quantum level. So at all these levels, air, space, fire, water, and earth, fire, photons, we're all part of the electromagnetic field fluctuating at the speed of light. So at all these levels, we are inseparable and entangled. What Thich Nhat Hanh would say, we are interbeings in the inter-isness, Thich Nhat Hanh's phrase. In other words, what I call me, Deepak, is the matrix of all beings, interbeings. Now here's, if you go a little further, and I was remembering a long time ago, my readings from Guy Murchie. In every breath that you inhale, you take in 10 to the power of 16 atoms. Every breath you exhale, same thing. Based on radioactive calculations and mathematics, you have 1 million atoms in your body that were once in the body of Christ, Jesus Christ. And you also have at least 1 quadrillion atoms in your body that have gone through the body of every other species on the planet. Every other species, every other living being. So who are you? Who is Deepak? Who is the person listening to me? If there are a million atoms in your body that were once in the body of Jesus Christ, or Buddha, or Genghis Khan, or Hitler, or Muhammad, or Rumi, or anyone you can conceivably think of who's lived in this planet, and the 117 billion humans that have existed on this planet since humans evolved, then who are you? Who are you? Who am I? You're entangled being, interbeing at every level: body, mind, spirit, the Akashic field, quantum metabolism, and even thought. Every thought that you have is recycled from the matrix of collective thoughts. That's why in the Rig Veda, there's a phrase, let noble thoughts come to me from every side, because your thoughts don't belong to you. Nothing belongs to you. You belong to everything. You belong to everything. Everything or nothing belongs to you. Now think about that. And if you seriously think about that, then you have no choice but to be a being of empathy and compassion and joy and equanimity and love. Love in action as the ultimate truth at the heart of creation. There's no choice. And that's also called liberation. Liberation from suffering, liberation from karma, liberation from the recycling of outmoded concepts that no longer serve us. Let me know your thoughts, reflections on this. I'm still planning our tutorial or masterclass or studies on consciousness. And just preparing the framework for that, just preparing the technology to do this globally so we can all be participants of a collective Sangha and evolve together to our collective awakening. Thank you, my friends.